Fazza was never the kind of man who struggled to find words. At least, that's what everyone believed. In a room full of noise, he could command silence with a single sentence. Among friends, he was the storyteller, the one who turned ordinary moments into unforgettable memories. But deep inside, there lived a version of him no one ever truly met, a quiet soul, carrying emotions too heavy to be spoken aloud. It all began on an ordinary evening that didn't feel like it would change anything. The sky was painted in shades of orange and fading gold, and the wind carried a softness that hinted at something new. Fazza wasn't looking for love. In fact, he had convinced himself that love was a distraction, something that weakens even the strongest hearts. He believed in focus, ambition, and moving forward without looking back. And then, she appeared. She wasn't loud. She didn't try to stand out. Yet somehow, she became the only thing Fazza could notice. There was a calmness in her presence, like a silent melody that played only for those who truly listened. Her smile wasn't perfect, but it was real, and that made it unforgettable. At first, it was nothing more than small conversations. Casual greetings. A few shared laughs. Moments that could easily be forgotten. But Fazza didn't forget. He remembered every word she said, every pause in her voice, every time her eyes looked away as if hiding something deeper. He didn't understand it at first. Why her presence lingered in his mind long after she was gone. Why her absence felt heavier than it should. Why the world seemed a little quieter when she wasn't around. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Fazza found himself changing, not in ways others could see, but in ways he could feel. He became more patient, more thoughtful. He started noticing little things, the way sunlight touched her hair, the way her voice softened when she spoke about things she loved, the way she laughed like she didn't care who was listening. He wanted to tell her, God, how many times did he try? There were nights when he would sit alone, staring at his phone, typing words he could never send. Messages filled with emotions he didn't know how to express in real life. He would write, delete, write again, and then close the screen as if the silence was safer than the truth. Because Fazza wasn't afraid of love. He was afraid of losing it. He had seen what love could do. He had seen people break, seen promises turn into regrets, seen forever fade into memories. And somewhere deep inside, he feared that if he spoke his feelings, he might lose even the little connection they had. So he stayed quiet. And that silence became his prison. She trusted him. She talked to him about her dreams, her fears, her past. Sometimes, she would sit with him and share things she never told anyone else. And Fazza would listen, always listening, always understanding, always there. But never saying what his heart screamed every second. There were moments, small, fragile moments, when it felt like she knew. Like her eyes searched his face for something he refused to show. Like her silence was asking a question he never answered. And every time, he looked away. Because love, when unspoken, becomes a strange kind of pain. It doesn't explode, it lingers. It grows slowly, quietly, until it becomes a part of you. Fazza carried that love everywhere. In the way he cared for her without reason. In the way he noticed when she wasn't okay before she even said a word. In the way he remembered things she forgot she ever mentioned. But love isn't always about what you give. Sometimes, it's about what you never say. And time doesn't wait for silent hearts. One day, things changed. It wasn't sudden. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, just like everything else between them. She started becoming distant. Conversations became shorter. Her laughter didn't last as long. The warmth that once existed began to fade into something unfamiliar. Fazza noticed. Of course he did. But he said nothing. Because by then, silence had become his habit. And habits are hard to break. Until the day came, the day he never prepared for, yet somehow always feared. She told him. Not about her love for him, but about someone else. Her voice was soft, almost hesitant, as if she didn't want to hurt him. She spoke about a new beginning, about feelings she had finally accepted, about a future she was ready to step into. And Fazza listened. Just like he always did. But this time, it felt different. This time, every word felt like it was taking something away from him, something he never even had the courage to claim. He smiled. Of course he smiled. Because that's what people do when they don't want their pain to be seen. He congratulated her. He told her he was happy for her. He wished her the best. And for a moment, she believed him. Maybe part of him believed it too. But that night, everything changed. Fazza sat alone, in a silence that felt louder than anything he had ever heard. The world around him moved on like nothing had happened. People laughed, lights flickered, life continued. But inside him, something broke. Not loudly. Not visibly. Just quietly, like everything else. He realized something in that moment, something he had been avoiding for a long time. Love doesn't disappear just because you don't say it. It stays. It grows. And sometimes, it hurts more because it was never given a chance to exist. Days passed, and Fazza became distant not from her, but from himself. He still talked, still smiled, still lived the life everyone expected him to live. But something was missing. Or maybe, Something was lost. He never blamed her. How could he? She chose happiness. And he chose silence. That was the difference. Sometimes, he wondered what would have happened if he had just said it. If he had taken that one step, broken that one barrier, spoken those 3 simple words. Would things be different? Would she have stayed? Or would the ending be the same, just with more memories to hold on to? He never found the answer. Because life doesn't give answers to questions that were never asked. Years later, Fazza became stronger. Not in the way people usually understand strength, but in a quieter, deeper sense. He learned to carry his emotions without letting them control him. He learned to move forward, even when parts of him remained behind. But some things never change. Sometimes, in the middle of a busy day, he would remember her. Not with regret, not with pain, but with a kind of softness that only first love can leave behind. Because she wasn't just a memory. She was a lesson. A reminder that love isn't always about timing, or destiny, or even mutual feelings. Sometimes, it's about courage. And Fazza, he had everything. Except the courage to say what his heart felt. And that's why his love remained unfinished. Not because it wasn't real, but because it was never spoken. This channel is all about poetic stories and emotional content inspired by Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Fazza, the Crown Prince of Dubai. Here, you will find deep poetry, love stories, and powerful lines reflecting his royal lifestyle, silent strength, and emotional side. Backhand index pointing right. Please like and share and subscribe my channel for more beautiful poetry and poems. Red heart.